Welcome back. Many small business owners manage to go it alone when it comes to public relations or even branding. But creating your own legal forms, well, that may not be so easy. Our next guest is here to show us how to avoid potentially huge legal pitfalls if you choose to try and pursue that route. Rebecca Geller is the president and CEO of the Geller Law Group. Rebecca, welcome to the show. You know, this is a tricky part for so many small businesses because they don't have a huge budget. Big legal bills scare them, but you say better safe than sorry, and you can avoid some larger expenses later on down the road if you're careful in the beginning. So let's go over the 4 tips. First and foremost, you say don't rely on online legal websites and tools that they're not intended for small businesses. They may be okay for individuals, but small businesses beware. Talk about that.
Well, they're actually probably not even okay for individuals too, but they really have so many problems. And most importantly, when these kinds of legal documents are brought up to the courts, they are knocked down. They are not respected by the courts. And so at the time when you need your document to protect you the most, they're ignored by courts. So it's really not going to help you there.
Now, Consumer Reports reviewed them and said some are better than others, and that they certainly beat not having any legal advice and doing it completely on your own. But they said there will be things that fall through the cracks. So you may want to get started with some of the better reviewed ones, but don't think that that's going to be the full protection that you need. What are some ways that they can avoid the online documents but still have a quick way to get to a lawyer?
Well, you have to look at what's right for your industry. A lot of the online documents are very cookie cutter, and what's right for one business is not necessarily right for another. What a restaurant needs versus a medical practice versus a technology company are very different. And so you have to first look, obviously, what are your state's laws? Just last week I had a client who came to me with a legal document they downloaded, and we looked at it. And I said, well, are you moving your business to New York? And she said, well, no, but the document was based on New York law, and she's here in Washington, D.C.
The dangers is the same as when we try and diagnose ourselves on the web. And then doctors say, don't do that. Second tip, you say permitting really does matter. And I have to say, as a longtime D.C. resident, especially in the Washington area, we take our permits very seriously. Talk about that.
I had a client this week who came to me, and she had created the articles of incorporation for her business and got her tax ID number from the IRS, but did not know anything about county business licensing or anything at the local level. So if you don't have a business license, you have to figure out what is your local jurisdiction going to require. If you don't do it, you will get penalized and you will get fined.
And there are some online tools for that, but not one-stop shopping. So you can't figure out all the different places you will need, from the state to the locality to the county. So that's a really tricky, slippery slope that people can fall down. The other one I really like, you say own your IP, own your intellectual property. What do you mean by that?
Your brand. Your business name is probably your most important asset, especially as you're getting started. Many people will launch a business but forget about the trademark aspects of their name. If you just launch a business and start the domain and don't ever look to see, is your business name infringing on a currently existing trademark? Many times you can and will get sued. You'll receive a cease and desist letter because you're infringing on somebody else's trademark.
Again, something that people rely more and more on, GoDaddy and all these different places, they think that they can register their website name and then they own the name, but it's not as simple as that.
Not at all, absolutely. Or they think, well, I've gotten the domain and I've registered in my state, so I'm good. But trademark's a federal issue. So if there's a company in California that has a similar sounding business name to yours, and it's similar sounding, it's not even exact. If it's similar to yours and you haven't registered the trademark and they have, you are going to get sued very quickly. I had a client just very recently who came to me, they were launching a business name, and we looked at it and I said, there's absolutely no way you can do this. You'll get sued very quickly.
A preschool in California, I remember, had Disney characters in their playground, and Disney sued for even that. They will go after businesses large and small, so beware. And finally, your 4th tip, short and simple can be dangerous. A lot of people in this ADD world want everything, even legal documents, kept short and to the point so that it's easily understandable. You say there's reasons sometimes for pages and pages of legal documents.
I get this one all the time. People say, I want a one-pager, very easy to read, that my customers can just sign off on, and it's not going to be too complicated. But the problem is that the devil really is in the details. When you're working with your clients or your customers, how are you getting paid? Can you charge late fees? What happens if the check bounces? What is the scope of work that you're being asked to do or you're asking somebody else to do? You really want to have protections here and not just have a short and sweet document. The adage of the friendly handshake really isn't going to cut it, because if you then have a problem and have to go after that person, you need a document that really governs their interaction.
There's a reason we're called a litigious society. And just finally on that point, is there a way to have the best of both worlds? Can you have a short one-page document at the top and then refer to the addendum, or do you need it all up front?
Absolutely. You can refer to an addendum without a problem, as long as it's drafted correctly and have it so that it's incorporated as one solid document and not creating a new document later on.
What should a small business expect in terms of legal fees? Should they have someone on a monthly basis, an annual basis, or can they do it as an hourly basis? What should they expect to pay in their budget?
For many small businesses, legal fees should not be a significant expense for them, and they haven't budgeted for that. So I usually recommend do it as an as-needed basis. Many times you have a lot of legal fees at the very beginning as you're getting started for employee contracts, for customer contracts, for vendors, but then as you get going, you just want a lawyer there who you can ask questions to. Can you review this contract? Can you review this document? So usually on an as-needed basis. There's not really a reason many times to have monthly until you get larger.
But spend that money up front so that you don't spend way more on down the road. Rebecca Geller, good advice. Thanks for joining us on Washington Business Report.
Thank you.
And when we come back, more and more people are fighting Google for their right to be forgotten. And Twitter is suing for the right to disclose who's being watched. Stay with us for much more in our roundtable.